Okay, so good day again, class. So let's continue our discussion dito sa value-added tax. Okay, so last time we discussed this part, yung 0%, right? 0%, mga sales na subject sa 0% VAT. So, again, just a quick reminder, yung mga sales na subject sa 0% VAT are your export sales, okay? These are your export sales and the sale and delivery of goods to the registered enterprises, sale of raw materials or packaging to a local export-oriented enterprise, sale of raw materials or packaging to an export-oriented enterprise who exceeded 70% of total annual production and so on and so forth. So aside from those, hindi ko nabanggit last time is this part. So this is also subject sa 0% VAT. So sales to persons or entities whose exemption under special laws or international agreements to which the Philippines is a signatory effectively subjects such sales to zero rate. Okay, so this is in conjunction sa international committee or what. So if yung treatment, right, kapag sa ibang bansa, ang treatment nila sa isang specific sales for Filipinos is subject to 0% VAT, okay? Or they can be yung mga same sales of services or goods shall also be subject to 0% tax rate under dito sa Philippines. Okay, so for example, under sa France is yung mga sales of tobacco sa mga Pilipino sa France is subject to 0% VAT or in some cases is exempt. So dito sa Philippines pwede ding bigyan ng 0% VAT yung mga benta ng mga French citizens dito sa Pilipinas, yung parang ganun. Okay? So that is also subject sa 0% VAT rate. So let's move on from the 0% VAT. Here we have the transactions deemed sale, okay? So ito yung mga transactions na considered na sale under sa VAT law natin or under sa tax law natin. So we have also somewhat discussed this dito doon sa introduction. So first is the transfer, use, or consumption not in the course of business of goods or properties originally intended for sale or for use in the course of business. Okay, so kung meron tayong isang goods or services which we originally intend for sale or use in the course of business, right? We are intending for that specific goods or goods or property for the sale or use in the course of business. Tapos transfer natin either through sale, barter or whatever. Ginamit natin or kinonsume natin not in the course of business, right? So for example, meron tayong, let's say, nagbebenta tayo ng alak, right? Nagbebenta tayo ng alak, tapos meron tayong isang case na alak, instead na ibenta natin for use in the course of business, ang ginawa natin ininom natin, right? So that is a consumption, use or consumption not in the course of business. Pero it is intended. Yung ginamit natin, it is intended for the sale or use in the course of business. Kasi nga intention natin originally is to sell that. Pero hindi naman natin binenta, ininom natin for personal use. So that is considered to be a sale under the eyes of the tax law, right? Kasi nga that is parang binenta ng business yung alak sa mismong may-ari. So ganun yung treatment, right? So parang sale lang din 'yon. So that is actually deemed sale under sa tax law. The next one is distribution or transfer to shareholders or investors as share in the profits of the VAT registered persons or creditors in payment of debt. Okay, so kunyari, there is a company, meron tayong isang kumpanya. Yung kumpanya na yon, ang business niya is selling of, let's say, gadgets like laptops and computers. So, in payment for the share of profits ng mga shareholders, in payment uh, in payment for the share of profit, instead na pera yung instead na pera yung ano yung instead na pera yung binigay natin, ang binigay natin is yung laptop. Laptop ang binigay natin sa mga shareholders natin for their share in the profits. So, yung pinagbigay natin na laptop, that is actually considered to be a sale under sa tax law. Okay, so parang binenta natin yung laptop sa mga shareholders natin. Right? So that is actually a sale para sa tax law. Another is creditors in payment of debt. So, for example, meron tayong utang sa isang creditor. So instead na bayaran natin yung utang, ang ginawa natin is binigay natin yung binebenta natin sa nagkautangan natin. So that is in payment of debt to the creditor. So that is treated again as a sale under the eyes of the tax laws. So parang binenta mo 'yon sa nagkautangan natin in payment of that debt. Okay? The third one, consignment of goods if actual sale is not made within 60 days following the date such goods were consigned. Okay, so kunyari meron tayong binebentang clothing, mga damit, right? So para mas marami tayong binenta, kinonsign natin sa kakilala natin sa malayo. Okay, so for example, nagbebenta ka ng damit dito sa vegan, tapos para makabenta ka pa ng marami, kinonsign mo yung mga damit na ibinebenta mo sa kakilala mo doon sa, let's say, Sinait. Okay? So binigay mo yung mga damit na ibebenta mo doon sa kakilala mo sa Sinait para siya yung nagbenta doon sa Sinait. So that is called consignment. So yung nagbebenta ng damit mo doon sa Sinait, hindi siya mismo yung may-ari ng damit. Okay? Hindi siya yung may-ari ng damit. Ang purpose lang niya is to sell those clothes. Okay? In the eyes of the law, if the actual sale is not made within 60 days, kung hindi pa niya nabenta within 60 days following the date of such goods were consigned, kapag hindi pa natin nabenta yon, hindi pa niya nabenta yon within 60 days, it is actually considered to be sale. It is deemed to be a sale. Parang binenta na natin yon sa kakilala natin sa Sinait kapag hindi pa niya nabebenta within 60 days. Okay? So ganoon 'yun. Pero if wala pang 60 days, hindi pa 'yon considered to be a sale. Okay? The last one, retirement from or cessation of business with respect to inventories of taxable goods existing as such retirement or cessation. Okay, so this is in regards to kapag retirement of cessation of business, kapag mag-e-end na tayo ng business. Okay, so kapag nag-e-end na tayo ng business, tapos meron tayong inventory, right, yung mga ibebenta natin na hindi pa natin naibenta at the time of the termination of the business, yung amount of inventory is deemed to be a sale, okay, under the eyes of the law. Okay, So let's move on from those transactions deemed sale, and let's go to letter C, changes in or cessation of status of a VAT registered person. Okay, so the tax imposed in subsection A of this section shall also apply to goods disposed of or existing as of a certain date if under circumstances to be prescribed in rules and regulations to be promulgated by the Secretary of Finance. Upon recommendation of the Commissioner, status of a person as a VAT registered person changes or is terminated. Okay? So, ang sinasabi lang dito, kunyari, nag-register tayo as a VAT. Kasi in-assume natin na ma-exceed natin yung 3 million threshold. Kahit 3 million threshold within 12 months. Pero it turns out na hindi pala natin ma-exceed yung 3 million threshold within 12 months. So we will be canceling. So we are cessation of status, or we are canceling this our status of a VAT registered person. So ika-cancel na natin yung VAT registration natin kasi nga hindi naman natin ma-exceed yung VAT threshold. So sabi dito, the subsection A, so ano ba yung subsection A natin kanina, which is here, rate and base of tax. Okay, so the rate and base of tax of the value added tax shall also apply. Okay, so yung 12% based on the gross selling price and the gross receipt shall also apply to goods disposed of or existing as of a certain date. Okay, so kung meron pa tayong goods na i-dispose pa lang natin, right, before natin ma-cancel yung VAT registration, it is still considered to be under sa 12% VAT. Okay, so it shall also apply to the goods disposed of or existing as of a certain date if under circumstances the status of a person as a VAT registered person changes or is terminated. Okay, so kung yun lang ang ibig sabihin nito kapag mag-change ang status natin as a VAT registered person, yung mga i-dispose natin or yung mga nag-exist pa before tayo mag-change na goods is still subject to the 12% VAT rate. Okay? Letter D, sales returns, allowances, and sales discount. Okay? The value of goods or property sold and subsequently returned, or for which allowances were granted by a VAT registered person, may be deducted from the gross sales or receipts for the quarter in which a refund is made or a credit memorandum or refund is issued. Sales discount granted and indicated in the invoice at the time of sale, and the grant of which does not depend upon the happening of a future event may be excluded from the gross sales within the same quarter it was given. Okay, so na-discuss na natin ito sa introduction to business tax, right? So this is yung mga allowable deductions under doon sa gross selling price natin. So ang isang allowable deductions ay yung dalawang allowable deductions natin doon sa gross selling price natin is the sales returns and allowances and the sales discounts. Okay? So pwede tayong mag-deduct ng mga sales returns and allowances and any sales discounts basta naka-indicate, okay, indicated in the invoice at the time of sale. Okay, so dapat naka-indicate na at the time of sale and not after the date of sale. Okay, so this is in regards to the sales discount. Pero in regards to the in regards to the returns, okay, and subsequent return for which allowance were granted, person may be deducted from the gross sales and receipts for the quarter which a refund is made or a credit memorandum is issued. Okay, so kapag sales returns and allowances naman, So kung meron tayong sales na sinauli ng mga customer natin, pwede natin yung i-deduct sa gross selling price natin para mas lumiit yung babayaran nating value added tax. Okay? Okay, so this is the last part for this discussion. Authority of the commissioner to determine appropriate tax base. Okay, so the commissioner, this is the head of the BIR. The commissioner shall, by rules and regulations prescribed by the Secretary of Finance, determine the appropriate tax base in cases where a transaction is deemed a sale, barter, or exchange of goods or properties under Section B hereof, or where the gross selling price is unreasonably lower than the actual market value. Okay, so kung there are instances na medyo suspicious yung na report ng isang taxpayer. Right? So for example, the gross selling price or yung pinagbebenta nila is unreasonably lower than the actual market value. So mas mababa yung gross selling price nila compared sa mga binebenta doon sa actual market. Right? So the commissioner has the power to determine the appropriate tax base. So pwede siyang meron siyang kakayahan na i-determine kung magkano man yung talagang tax base ng isang taxpayer na yon kung makita niyang suspicious or very low yung gross selling price niya. Kasi, di ba, kapag mababa yung gross selling price mo, it means that the VAT na babayaran mo is mababa din. So, it is disadvantageous to the government kapag gano'n. So, pwedeng mag-determine ng commissioner ng appropriate tax base. Okay? So, yun lang muna for today, class. So, next meeting, we will be beginning the discussion dito sa section 107. Okay? So, this is in regards to the importation of goods. Okay? Okay, so, thank you for listening, class. Okay, see you again next time. Goodbye.